Hi, I'm Joanne Ingram, and I'm a school physical therapist in San Bernardino County. You're receiving this video as part of the county school's distance learning program because your child has physical therapy service in their classroom at school. So these videos will contain ideas and activities that you can use in your home to support your child's mobility. But please remember that this is an optional resource. It's always your choice whether or not you would like to utilize the content. So this video is going to focus on floor time for students that are unable to walk independently. But floor time can also be a good option for children that can walk but have significant balance or coordination issues. So before we get on the floor, we're going to talk about safety first. And I'm going to give you a few guidelines so you know if it's okay for you to proceed with putting your child on the floor. So number one, your child weighs less than 50 pounds and you know that you can easily and safely lift them. Number two, you are experienced in doing the transfer to and from the floor. You've been doing it regularly, you've done it recently, and you know you can do it safely. Or number three, your child will help during a transfer. They will actively participate in coming to stand from the floor. So if you could answer yes to one or more of those guidelines, you're okay to move forward with floor time. If you weren't sure that you had a solid yes, maybe your child's a little over 50 pounds, or maybe it's been a while since you've done this transfer. If you're not sure, don't do it. I not only want you and your child to be safe, but I want you to feel comfortable and confident when you do any of these activities. So if you're not sure, you're feeling hesitant or nervous about something, don't do it. And don't worry, I'll have other options coming up for you in the next video. So, here we are on the floor, and one of the best things about floor time is that if your child is able to initiate any type of movement when they're on the floor, they're going to be doing all the work. So movement on the floor includes being able to roll, whether it's halfway onto the side or all the way stomach to back, back to stomach, being able to sit up or being able to hold a seated position if you assist them to get there. Any type of crawling, whether it's combat crawling on the stomach or hands and knees position crawling, any type of movement on the knees, or even just pulling up onto the knees using furniture. All of that is good work. And if your child can do anything along those lines, all you're going to do is turn them loose on the floor and let them use those skills to explore their environment and increase their mobility. Always consider too, if you're not getting a lot of movement, try using preferred toys that light up or make sound, anything that will catch their interest and get them motivated to move toward it. So we also want to take a minute to talk about safety. Take a look around the room where a child's on the floor and make sure there are no hazards that can trip them up. No electrical cords hanging low where they could reach. No overhead objects that could tip easily and fall on them. And of course, you want to look around on the floor. Make sure there's nothing that they could find and put in their mouth. So even if your child is not able to initiate movement when they're on the floor, it still can be a beneficial option for you to use. Even if your immobile child is just lying on their back for a period of time on the floor, that can actually be very beneficial for them. When you lay on your back on a cushioned bed or couch, everything is supported and you don't get a lot of stretch to any of the joints or tendons. Laying on the firm surface of the floor not only helps to stretch tendons and joints, but it gives them more leverage to try to move and be successful at it. So what I'm going to show you next is how to position your child for good alignment, for optimal stretching, when you're laying a child on their back on the floor that isn't able to move independently. So hang on, let me get my assistant, Jake, and I'll be right back. Give you all kinds of support. So when you lay on the firm surface of the floor, you're getting a lot more stretch to your joints and your tendons. So a lot of children that spend a lot of time in wheelchairs in a seated position will be tight in their hip flexors and in their hamstrings behind the knees. So what you'll see when you put them on the ground, they'll keep their knees flexed and they'll kind of sag over to one side. And they do this because this is taking their tendons off stretch and it's more comfortable. So when you're putting them on the floor, you want to look at this alignment so that they get the maximum benefit from their time stretching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate Jake's hips back to a nice flat neutral position. And I'm going to pull his legs out, just stop right there, Jake, as straight as I can. So obviously Jake could go straight all the way, but I'm having him simulate. So here is a good stretching position, and I could stay here and hold it because most kids that are tight aren't gonna really enjoy this. They'll try to go back. So what you can do is take a small pillow, or you can roll up a towel so you get whatever size that is gonna work. And I'm gonna block that hip up that he wants to rotate down. And then I'm gonna grab another pillow and put it in between his knees. So now I've made his hips level and I've aligned his legs so they're coming off his hips in a nice straight parallel couple of lines. And my goal is to have his knees pointing straight up to the ceiling. So what your child will do after you've done this, their knees are still going to flop over. Flop your knees over, Jake. So I don't want to have to sit here the whole time and hold him. So I'm going to bring those knees straight up to the ceiling, and I'm just grabbing whatever I have, a big squishy stuffed animal to hold him up. And there you go. Instead of the bent over, rotated position, now his hips are level, his knees are straight up, and his legs are as straight as I can get them. So if he spends time here, what he'll start trying to do is draw those feet up. So I'll be watching either directly or out of the corner of my eye, and I'll just come by every now and then and sneak those heels back up. Go ahead and start with about 10 minutes. Try to work up to 30 minutes of your child staying in a well-aligned stretching position. Okay, if your child, stay right there, Jake. If your child is able to roll and will actively roll all the way over under their stomach, that's fine to do as well. If your child is super tight or you have no experience with putting their child onto their stomach, then I'm going to say don't do it right now. It looks like an easy thing to just roll a kid over onto their stomach, but it can be a lot more difficult than you would think, especially if they have tightness in their tendons. And of course, if they have any other medical issues going on, if they have a G-tube or a tracheostomy, that adds another component to having them lay on their stomach. It is okay for kids with G-tubes or trachs to lay on their stomach, but you just have to keep track of what's going on. Make sure you don't pull on it or block it. And I don't want to give you, a big, difficult project to work on when you're alone and you don't have support. So no stomach unless you're experienced doing it. No stomach lying if your child has a trach or a G-tube. If they're willing to do most of the work, rolling over, then laying on the stomach is an excellent way to stretch out these same areas. So the last thing I'm going to show you is sitting balance. So what I'm going to do is sit Jake up. And I'm going to pre-position his legs into what we call ring sitting. So just flexing them a little bit till the heels come together. So if Jake will participate, if your child is willing to cooperate and try to sit up and work with you, you can just prompt them with the arms, bring them on up, support them, and slide around the back of them. Okay, if your child is not a mover, come on back down, Jake. And they won't bring their head and help themselves sit up if you prompt them by the arms, then you're going to position those legs. You're going to start by bringing their head up, and you're just going to slide in underneath them. And you're going to slowly use your body weight to work them up. So you're not really lifting, you're just rolling and pushing. What I like to do then is sit in a straddle position behind. But you can use whatever position works best for you. So once you get here, you will see a child that needs that much help will typically give you this. So they'll be flexed forward with their head hanging. So what you're going to do is prompt them to actively sit up. So snug up behind them, put one arm around their chest and stomach, and you're going to tap the muscles along the neck, and that's just a little quick stretch to the neck muscles, and that kind of facilitates them to contract. And I'm going to ask him to help me as I'm doing this manual tapping to get his head up. Come on, Jake, head up. Come on, lift your head, lift your head. And I'm going to bring him up by the chest as well. Once I have him up in a upright, or as close to upright as I can get him, I'm just going to prompt him to hold by giving him little nudges, little bits of stabilization to kind of give him the idea that we're staying right here in the middle, and this is where I want you. So the other thing you want to be aware of is if your child's head control is low, they may not only drop it forward, but drop it suddenly back. So if your child is apt to do that, stay low and to the side, or be super careful because you don't want them to drop that head back and give you a black eye or break your nose. So just start 5 to 10 minutes, giving them the opportunity to use their muscles to sit up and giving them these little nudges. Let me have your arm forward. Little nudges, little pushes, just to give them the idea to use their muscles and hold. Okay, when you're backing out, hold them forward, get up onto your feet, whatever works for you, and let them out slow. Use your body weight to control them. And as they come back, make sure you watch that head and let their head down slow. So that's it for floor time. I hope I included something that you find useful in some way. If you have a specific question about your child, email me at joanne.ingram@sbcss.net. And remember, safety first. Don't try to put your child on the floor. If they're too heavy for you to lift easily, if they're a full lift, or you've never done it before. Even if you have another adult in your home that could help, or a mechanical lift, don't try it if it's completely new for you. Remember, stay with what you know, stay safe, and stay home.